This is my EVGA FTW3 RTX 3070, and I'm going to be telling you how I got it and show you what it can do. Well, hi there, it's your good old buddy TechDweeb here, and look at this. Oh my god, this thing is heavy. This is an RTX 3070, and it's a big girl. This has been my graphics card for the last, 7 months, and today I'm going to tell you how I got her, and show you the features of this card, and then I'll show you some 1440p gaming on this bad girl. Before I had this, I had a GTX 1660. Of course, I wanted an RTX card, but when they launched, I couldn't get one. Nobody could. They were sold out everywhere. Not unless I wanted to pay the scalper tax. But I did got one, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, TechDweeb is the best tech YouTube channel I've ever seen, which is why I liked the video and subscribed. Well, thanks for that. And I know what else you're thinking. You're thinking, how the heck did he get his hands on an RTX 3070? Well, let me tell you all about it. It was a cool spring night, April 2021, and I was having a bubble bath watching my favorite YouTube channel, Linus Tech Tips. He was talking about the Verified Actual Gamer program on one of his videos. Basically, he was planning on giving away some graphics cards to true gamers. No minors or scalpers allowed, because you had to show your gaming street cred by completing a gaming challenge. I knew they were going to be giving away EVGA cards, because he said so. And I also knew that he was planning on offering the challenge in the middle of one of his videos, because that's what he did for his other giveaways. The competition's hard. You have to be on the ball. You have to watch his videos the moment they came out, and then be quick with getting to the URL that he provided to get one. Now, I knew from many hints that he was dropping that the graphics card giveaway was coming up. I wanted an RTX 3070 so bad, you guys. You have no idea. I had a new 34-inch 1440p ultra-wide monitor, and that 1660 just wasn't cutting it. I'd been super into the tech behind ray tracing. When the 20 series was launching, I immersed myself in the new technology. I learned all about it, how ray tracing works, and DLSS, how it's going to be a game changer. I'm going to be doing a dedicated video on ray tracing really soon, so get subscribed so you don't miss that. Suffice it to say that I was ready and willing to do whatever it took to get my hands on one of those 30 series cards. Paying scalpers was out of the question, so my only hope was going to be Linus, our gamer savior, showering us actual gamers with processors and GPUs as we bask in his glory. So, I was ready. I subscribed and enabled notifications so that I could be notified immediately whenever a video came out. Every video that LTT released I watched right away. For about 2 or 3 weeks this went on, and then one fateful day, as I was sitting with my mom in the living room and playing Final Fantasy IV on my LDK, I got the notification of another video. It was called, I'm selling GPUs below MSRP. This was it. I knew it in my heart. This was the video I'd been waiting for. I almost killed my cat as I ran to my PC as fast as my TechDweeb legs could carry me. I pulled up the video and scrubbed through the timeline. I don't know if it was luck or if the gaming gods were smiling upon me, but I somehow landed right on the one part of the video I needed. He said, if you want a graphics card, you gotta go to lttstore.com / the name of the card you want. So if you want a 3060, you type 3060 or 3070. Those were the cards he was giving away, the 3060 and the 3070. My fingers were shaking as I typed the URL as fast as I could. I was so nervous that I messed up the first time, but second time's the charm. I got it. I was in. I got a message that said, congratulations, you're gonna get an RTX 3070 if you can prove that you're an actual gamer. And then they had this message about how they only have a certain amount of cards left. I can't remember the number, but it was counting down. The cards were being grabbed up. So I clicked to enter the challenge. The challenge was this stupid little jumping game. You know the ones, like those lame web and mobile games where your character is jumping by himself and you can move him left and right. Well, that's what this was. My heart was racing as I started the challenge. And let me tell you, I've gamed under pressure before. I used to play lots of competitive multiplayer games in the past, games with high stakes, and I've never been as nervous playing a game as I was right then and there, playing this stupid little jumping game. and I've never done as bad at playing a game as I did this day. I wanted the cards so bad. I knew that they were running out, and my heart was racing. My fingers were shaking, and I just kept messing up. I'd make it pretty high up, and then I'd miss a jump, and I'd fall like halfway down. Oh my god. I'll never forget this moment, you guys. Trying so hard, trying to focus, wanting to win more than anything. It felt like my 3070 was slipping away with every mistake. And after what felt like an eternity, it was probably less than a minute to be honest, I made it to the top. And there I was, my 3070, waiting for me at the top of the level. I got it, had to enter my info, and then I got a message that my order was received and will be processed soon. I did it, you guys. I passed the verified actual gamer challenge under more pressure than I'd ever been under in my entire freaking TechDweeb life. This might be one of my happiest moments, which you might laugh at, all you regular people with the birth of your kids and getting married and all that important stuff. But for me, tech is my passion. That's what I live for. And getting my hands on an RTX graphics card was what I wanted more than anything, and it was finally happening. It took about a week to ship. I definitely didn't get impatient and send them an email or two asking when it would be sent. Definitely not. But about 2 weeks after I won the stupid actual gamer jumping game, it finally came. My RTX 3070. I don't need to go into the graphic details of what happened next, as I acquainted myself with the new love of my life. Long story short, this bad girl's been in my system for the last 7 months and has brought me so many good gaming memories, and I'm gonna show you what you could expect if you ever get your hands on an RTX 3070. But first, let me give you the tour. This is the EVGA GeForce RTX 3070 FTW3 Ultra Gaming. 5,888 CUDA cores, 1,815 MHz boost clock, 8 GB of GDDR6 VRAM, 448 GB per second memory bandwidth, PCIe Gen 4, total power draw of 220 watts, and it has a metal backplate. Addressable RGB lights on the side that can be controlled through the EVGA Precision X software, and 3 ugly-ass fans. Can I just go on a bit of a rant about how ugly this card is? I know I'm lucky to have one, thanks to Linus, and I hear that this variation of the card is one of the best performing, but, like, look at this thing. It has this giant plastic RGB strip on the side. I like me some RGB, but this thing is just so big and I don't know, cheap looking. It looks like a toy, like a kid's toy. These fans are so awkward. I'm sure there's a good reason why they're arranged like this, not all in a row, but it's just so weird looking. And look at the fans. They look like they have chicken pox. On the back there's this red strip with this big hump on it. Why does it have to have a hump on it? I don't know. I just can't with this card. I'm not hard to please, but this just doesn't do it for me. Okay, rant over. We don't love graphics cards because of how they look, do we? No. All we care about is how they game. Here it is in my rig. This is running an i7 10700K, 240mm AIO cooler, 32 GB of 3200 MHz RAM, Gen 3 NVMe SSD, and of course, the EVGA FTW3 RTX 3070. Like I said, we're going to be gaming on my 1440p ultra-wide monitor. I'm going to be running the games at standard 1440p resolution though, just so the YouTube video doesn't mess up with that ultra-wide resolution. So, without further ado, let's strap in and play some games. First up, here's Shadow the Tomb Raider. This was the first game that I fired up once I got my new card, not just because it's one of my favorite games, not just because it's one of my go-to benchmark games, and not just because the graphics are beautiful, and not just because I have a crush on Lara Croft, but because this game has some RTX specific enhancements. We're running at max settings, and it looks amazing in my opinion. 108 FPS average at 1440p. That's pretty cool. But I have RTX turned off for some good reasons. RTX is available, and the game looks good with RTX on, but not much better than when it's turned off. And I don't want to go too deep into the RTX stuff in this video. I'm going to be doing an entire video on ray tracing, so get subscribed so you don't miss it. I'll save the technical talk for that video. Today we'll just play some games on the 3070, and I'll enable ray tracing on some of the games if I want to. But for Shadow the Tomb Raider, Ultra settings, no ray tracing is where I want to be, because it's gorgeous and it plays great. Oh, and I wanted to quickly show the FPS game when I applied overclock to the card. I was able to add 120 MHz to the core clock and 1000 MHz to the memory, and that was the best stable config I could get. In this scene here, we went from 103 FPS to 111 FPS, which is pretty crazy. That's like 10% increase. That brings this 3070 more in line with 3070 Ti. Free performance, can't argue with that. I'm not going to leave the overclock enabled for the rest of the benchmarks though. Next up, we're going to fire up GTA 5. We're gaming on max settings here. At 1440p, the game runs even better at high settings. The max settings are significantly more demanding, especially the grass quality for some reason that really tanks your FPS. You'll need a high refresh rate monitor if you want to benefit from an RTX 3070 while playing GTA 5. GTA 5 is just one of those essential benchmark games. It runs great on any potato PC at medium or low settings, but it can really bring your system to its knees when you have it cranked. Because it runs so good at so many configurations, it's just a masterclass in how to optimize your game to work well on almost any hardware, and look great doing it. I love playing this on my 100Hz ultra-wide display. I also have a 1080p 165Hz G-Sync display that feels amazing with these super high refresh rate experiences. GTA 5 is always fun too. The story's great, the little side missions, the ridiculous world you could just goof around in. You can always find some new fun in this game, no matter how old it gets. And of course, GTA Online is still thriving. Here's Cyberpunk 2077, 1440p, with a mix of high and ultra settings, with ray tracing disabled, DLSS set to balanced. Like I said, I'm gonna be doing a separate video on ray tracing, so I don't want to get too bogged down in the technical talk. Suffice it to say that I prefer this game to run at a near 100 FPS refresh rate, so ray tracing is a no for me. And the game looks amazing. I'm not very far into the story. I picked this one up on a Steam fall sale, so I'm late to the game, but I'm kinda happy I waited, cause I believe lots of the bugs have been worked out. Not all of them, I can attest to that. Still plenty of bugs, but just maybe less bugs. And that's good enough for me. The game is very immersive. The story and the cutscenes really drew me in. I love the world. It feels a little hollow at times. Most of the NPCs that you see walking around are completely lifeless entities, just there to add flavor to the scenery. But if you could suspend your disbelief, then the world feels very alive and vibrant. And the world building with all the little things, like, you know, the radio chatter and the notes and lore you find around the city, even like the ads and stuff you see around on the TVs and buildings, it all adds up to some pretty compelling world building. Plus, you could change the size of your character's genitalia. Extra small for me. Here's Far Cry Primal. Just look at that FPS. We're running at 1440p, ultra settings, everything's cranked here. First-person shooters are where you want the high FPS, even on the sightseeing games like this one. The world is beautiful with tons of beautiful vistas to see, but when you're playing the game through the eyes of your character, those high FPS make you feel much more connected to the character. Not just how they look around, but also in like the movement of the attacks and things. I feel more like this is me when I'm not brought out of the experience by a clunky frames per second. I am this caveman. I eat raw meat. I hit trees with clubs. I hunt squirrels with spears. I have a map with waypoints and a quest log, and I sleep by the campfire, just like the real caveman that I am deep down inside. And this is Control, 1440p with maximum settings, so ray tracing at medium, a DLSS at quality. The game drops below 60 frames per second when I bring the ray tracing any higher. This was the first real showcase game for RTX. The game looks great without RTX enabled, of course, and you'll get way higher FPS than this if you disable it, so I say pick your poison. Lower FPS and fancy lighting, or regular lighting and crazy FPS. I personally flip-flop on the issue. Some games I want a maximum eye candy and I don't mind lower FPS. Some games I need that high FPS action. This one's kind of in the middle for me, in many ways actually. I don't love this game to be honest. It's weird, it's dark and confusing. I just don't care about the world or the story. The action and gameplay is super fun and the graphics look great as you can see, but the cumbersome story just kind of drags it down in my opinion. I got this as part of a bundle, so I'm glad I didn't have to pay for it. I'll play some more before I decide I'm gonna give up though. The fun gameplay moments were good enough to bring me back for more. Sorry about the video quality of this next one. It's super dark and weird looking. My screen recording software did something weird with this one. This is Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition, running at max settings, high ray tracing, and balanced DLSS. The tech behind this game is quite complex, and I'm gonna get more into detail in my upcoming ray tracing video. Long story short, the first Metro Exodus ran with or without ray tracing, but this version only runs with ray tracing. The whole game engine's been remade around ray tracing, and it runs really good considering. I played through half the game on the original Metro, and when I heard the Enhanced Edition was coming out, I held off until it was released, and then I finished the game on the Enhanced Edition. It really is a sight to behold. Lots of games don't look much different or even better with RTX enabled, but this isn't one of those games. Look how good this looks. And with DLSS enabled, we get a really solid frame rate. Like I said, this is a first-person game, so the higher FPS speeds, you're more immersed in the character. It's a very cool game. It's one of those games where you're constantly at the brink of running out of ammo or getting yourself into a situation that you have no hope of winning. You constantly feel like a trapped animal just barely escaping these horrible situations. And the story and the world pull you right in. I played all the Metro games, and this is one series that I haven't really fell in love with until Exodus came along. And it's just beautiful. I doubt I would have enjoyed the game nearly as much if I could play it at such a great FPS with high settings of 1440p, thanks to my 3070, and thanks to Linus. Now we're playing Red Dead Redemption with a high settings average, some ultra, some mediums. This one has DLSS, so it's set to quality. No ray tracing in this one. This might be one of my favorite games of all time. I would enjoy playing this on any graphics card that can hold a modest FPS. It's a sightseeing game, so I think you could easily enjoy this game on a lower FPS if it meant you could crank up the visuals. Still, it's nice to be able not to have to make that sacrifice, that's for sure. I've beaten the game and now I'm going through trying to complete all the challenges and find the collectibles. Like GTA, this is just a fun world to be in. You can goof around, go exploring, find secrets. The multiplayer is great too. I barely scratched the surface of that, but I love it so far. But the single player is where the heart of this game is. The story is second to none. I love the story in this game. I'm a bookworm, and most books that I love don't even have stories this good. I'm not gonna say that the ending made me cry. I would never admit that, and I'm frankly offended that you would even suggest such a thing. Resident Evil Village, running at high settings, ray tracing on, and ultra quality FSR. This is another visual masterpiece game. Not a gameplay masterpiece. It's a good game, I guess, but visually it's amazing. This game has FSR, which is AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution, which is sort of like DLSS, but it's not hardware based, it's software based, so it runs on any cards, NVIDIA or AMD. It doesn't look as good as DLSS, but on a high pixel density display like this one, you really don't notice much of a visual downgrade by turning it on, and you get a huge amount of FPS. So I play with FSR on ultra quality. The game is a horror game, obviously, but what I love about playing this game on this hardware is that the immersion of having super realistic graphics and high FPS makes the game more scary. I mean, it's not really that scary. Scary games are kinda lame most of the time, with a few exceptions. This one is better than most though. It's weird, creepy, lots of good jump scares, and general unsettling vibes. And just look at those graphics. Here's a fun one. This is Pumpkin Jack, around 1440p, with maximum settings, obviously. And this one has ray tracing. This one's an interesting game. It's a flat, cartoony art style, and I personally think that the ray tracing here really enhances the look of the game. I think since this game doesn't have lots of stuff on the screen to render, lots of AAA bells and whistles, the simple aesthetic shows how ray tracing can make games look better when the game designers aren't using a ton of tricks to get the game to wow you. It's just simple models, simple lighting, and ray tracing makes it feel more real to my eyes. It's a great game too. It's a fun console-style platformer and brawler. The art style's cool and the sound and music makes it feel really just like an awesome experience. The gameplay's really fun. Good fighting and exploration, lots of variety. I bought this on Halloween for me and my cousins to play together, and we had a great time. I think it goes without saying, but the RTX 30 series are some amazing pieces of technology. Even the lower end, like the 3060, they blow away the previous generation by a long shot. We're lucky we have such great GPUs available to us, even if most of us can't get our hands on one. But thanks to Linus, and a big thanks to that guy, this TechDweeb was able to game his heart out during a time when he needed it most. I'm gonna be moving on to other hardware in the future. The very near future, actually. Hint, hint. But I'll never forget this card, the good times we've had together, and most importantly, the story of how I got it. I hope you enjoyed coming along for this super long-winded video about a card you probably can't find or afford. Please let me know in the comments below. What's the GPU market like in your area? Have the miners and scalpers been rounded up and driven out of town? No? Well, what GPU are you using to get by in the meantime? I'd love to hear from you down there. And while you're down there, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, or a thumbs down if you didn't like it for some reason. Subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.